Did you see that UN speech? He literally called the UN corrupt, said European countries are going to hell.
Your countries are going to hell.
And that line about climate change being the greatest con job ever?
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. The carbon footprint is a hoax. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
Ha! Classic. Maybe that's why he slapped the 10% tariffs on those penguins after Liberation Day. Remember that? Anyway, I was watching this whole thing live, ready to fact check it with AI, but honestly, nothing new really came out of it. Same old, full of his trademark exaggerations. So instead, I'm gonna go through the main points that he made, break them down, and see if any of it actually makes sense, or, just the usual. I'm gonna ask AI what it thinks about those going to hell comments on Europe, and his claim that climate change is a con. Then in the second half, we'll see if ChatGPT actually sides with Trump when he called the UN corrupt and ineffective, and when he agreed NATO should shoot down Russian aircraft if they violate its borders again. It sounds crazy, but yeah, he really did say that. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a like right now or while you're watching, because it helps to push this video out to more people and helps me to keep on making brand new videos each and every week. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the chat. And here we are. As always, it has to gather up all the latest information first so that it's fully up to date on what happened at the UN, and then I'll start asking the questions. And it's ready. So ChatGPT needs to be clear, straightforward, unbiased, and all of that. And first, let's have it break down that con job claim and see what it thinks. And here's the answer. That's nonsense. Climate change isn't a con job, it's measurable, documented, and backed by decades of hard data. Rising global temperatures, melting ice, stronger storms, shifting ecosystems, these aren't opinions, they're observable facts. Calling it a scam is political theater meant to rally a base that doesn't want to hear about regulation or energy transition. You can debate how fast to act or which policies make sense, but pretending the problem itself is fake is reckless. It's like standing in a burning building and insisting the fire is a hoax because you don't like the fire department. The science couldn't be clearer. Temperature records stretching back over a century all show the same trend. The planet is heating up faster than ever. NASA, NOAA, the IPCC, and basically every major scientific body agree. And you don't need reports to see it. Glaciers are shrinking, Arctic sea ice is disappearing, coral reefs are dying, and coastal towns are already dealing with flooding. These aren't political talking points, they're physical changes happening in real time. This is where politics comes in. Fighting climate change requires cutting emissions, investing in cleaner energy, and forcing industries to adapt. That costs money and angers powerful lobbies. Instead of debating solutions, some leaders pretend the whole thing is a hoax. When Trump calls climate change a con job, he's not making a scientific point, he's giving people an excuse. Folks frustrated with high bills and endless regulations want to hear it's all fake because that means they don't have to change. But reality doesn't care. You can laugh at climate models, but when wildfires torch entire towns or floods take out neighborhoods, the damage is undeniable. Climate change isn't a scam. The scam is convincing people to ignore mountains of evidence because it's inconvenient. That wins applause in the moment, but it leaves future generations holding the bill. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, but really I know it sounds like a stupid question, but I just can't. Jump down into the comments and tell me, how? How can people buy into such... I mean, seriously, the President of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, standing in front of other world leaders and saying that kind of nonsense? He didn't just criticize how the world's dealing with it or how money's being spent on it. He flat out called the whole concept a scam, and yet plenty of people will still believe him. Sometimes it just boils my blood. Anyway, sorry for the rant, and damn, there's another claim I almost forgot. The one about European countries going to hell because of migration? So, let's have ChatGPT break that one down and see if there's actually any truth to it. Saying that European countries are going to hell because of migration and green energy is classic Trump, dramatic, headline-grabbing, and more bluster than reality. Yes, Europe faces real challenges. Migration has sparked political backlash, strained services, and fueled far-right movements. The shift to renewable energy has been expensive and uneven, with some countries dealing with higher costs and supply issues. Those are serious debates worth having, but jumping from Europe has problems to your countries are going to hell is an exaggeration meant to shock, not inform. Look at the facts. Economies like Germany, France, and the Nordic countries remain among the wealthiest and most stable in the world. Their healthcare, education, infrastructure, and social systems are still far ahead of most places, including parts of the US. Are there tensions around immigration? Absolutely. Are energy bills higher in some areas? Yes. But none of that equals collapse. Going to hell implies chaos and dysfunction, and Europe simply isn't there. Trump frames these issues in culture war terms: borders and fossil fuels. Migration, in his eyes, is an invasion. Green energy is a scam, leading to economic ruin. For his base, that framing resonates because it taps into fear. Fear of outsiders, fear of losing prosperity. By saying it to world leaders' faces, he grabs headlines, looks like the straight talker, and paints himself as the only one brave enough to tell the truth. But it's not a serious assessment. It oversimplifies messy issues into doom and gloom soundbites while ignoring Europe's strengths and long-term progress. Migration isn't pushing the continent to collapse. Green energy is costly now, but could bring cleaner, more secure power later. Leaders should be pressed on these policies, but your going to hell is just theater. My take, it's not an honest evaluation of Europe's condition. It's Trump being Trump, using exaggeration to stir fear, grab attention, and cast himself as the truth teller in the room. All right, got it. I don't even know what else to add here. Like chat said, it's just Trump being Trump. Okay, up next, I'm gonna ask AI to break down Trump's claim about the UN being corrupt and ineffective, and another one that didn't even sound like him when he agreed NATO should shoot down Russian aircraft. Can we even call him Krasnov after that? Alright, we'll break that down next, but before we move on, let's pause for a second. Make sure you hit that like button if you're enjoying the video, and drop a comment if you've got something to say about today's topic. It really does help, and honestly, that's just how YouTube works. The more you engage, the more the video gets pushed out to other people. So, go ahead and do that now before we jump into the next part. Alright, so what does ChatGPT think about Trump's attacks on the UN, and would it actually side with him or not? Trump calling the UN corrupt, ineffective, and decayed isn't shocking. He's been hammering that line for years, and honestly, he's not totally wrong. The UN has a bloated bureaucracy, endless talk shops, and a habit of passing toothless resolutions that go nowhere. It's slow, political, and often useless in real crises. Just look at Rwanda in the 90s, or even today with Ukraine and Gaza. The UN couldn't stop bloodshed if its life depended on it. But here's where Trump takes it too far. By trashing the UN wholesale and cutting funding, he doesn't just target the waste, he weakens the parts that do matter. The World Food Program, refugee aid, peacekeeping in some fragile regions. That stuff saves lives. The US pulling back doesn't reform the UN, it just leaves a vacuum for China, Russia, or whoever else wants to step in and steer the agenda. So do I side with him? Partially. The UN absolutely needs reform, badly. The Security Council veto system is broken, the corruption is real, and the bureaucracy is a joke. On that point, Trump's right to call them out, but nuking the whole institution with broad attacks is reckless. It's like smashing your car with a hammer because the check engine light annoys you. In short, the UN is a flawed, often pathetic organization that needs fixing. But abandoning it or treating it like an enemy, that's short-sighted. Reform it, strip the waste, and force accountability. Don't just walk away. Got it. So basically, it agrees with what Trump said, but not with what he did. Before we get to Donald Trump's last claim for today, allow me to give you a little bit of context for anyone who hasn't been following what's been happening in Europe. You know how Russia's been bombing everything in Ukraine for the last 3.5 years? Well, now they've pushed it even further. On September 9th, 19 Russian drones crossed Ukrainian airspace and entered into Polish territory. Some were flying around, some were shot down, and after that, Russian fighter jets violated Estonian airspace, and just recently, drones were spotted in Denmark and Norway. So there's a clear pattern here. Russia's provoking NATO's borders in different places, and Trump just basically agreed that NATO should take down any Russian aircraft if it crossed their airspace again. Honestly, it does sound like common sense, which is a little strange coming from him. So let's see how AI looks at all of this, and who knows, maybe we're about to witness ChatGPT actually praising Donald Trump. And here it is. Trump's endorsement of NATO countries shooting down Russian aircraft if they violate their airspace actually lands right in the middle of a real problem. Over the past few months, Russia has been steadily pushing the boundaries. Fighter jets slipping into Estonian skies, swarms of drones crossing into Poland. These aren't accidents, they're deliberate tests. Moscow is probing, measuring how NATO reacts, and looking for signs of weakness. That's why this isn't just about a drone or a fighter jet flying a few minutes off course. Russian aircraft in NATO skies are a direct threat to civilians. A drone doesn't have to carry a bomb to be dangerous. It can crash, cause panic, or be armed with surveillance gear. A fighter jet cutting across airspace risks miscalculation that could spiral into conflict. Every violation is a stress test of NATO's credibility, and the results so far have been a mix of warnings, scrambling jets, and diplomatic protests. That might not be enough. NATO has to draw a clear line. Airspace is sovereign territory, just like the ground beneath it. If Russia believes it can keep poking without consequences, the provocations will only escalate. The purpose of NATO's existence is deterrence, showing any aggressor that crossing the line isn't worth the cost. If the alliance shrinks away from that principle now, it signals hesitation, and hesitation is exactly what Moscow is looking to exploit. So in this context, Trump's blunt statement cuts to the heart of it. If NATO doesn't respond firmly, Russia will keep pushing. A strong, consistent reaction isn't about warmongering, it's about preventing the kind of escalation that comes from letting these violations slide. And there you have it. Let me know in the comments what you think about all those answers, and do you think that NATO should shoot down any Russian aircraft right away or not? As always, don't forget to leave your like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that thanks button under the video if you want to support the channel directly. After that, I highly recommend that you check out this video where ChatGPT predicted what a J.D. Vance presidency might look like, but I'm gonna warn you to be ready because it's gonna be way worse than you would expect. Alright, thanks a lot for watching, click on that video, and I'll see you over there in just a moment.